I think if we'd had proper management, we could have sailed through the bad times, and but we were just running out of control. We were making everything up as we went along. There was no guidance to us. Kurd was just, spending everything we earned, quick as that, sending us out on tour around the world for no reason. There was no reason to it, and we were just burning and spiraling out of control. Yeah.
Shame there's no code of ethics like there's a code of ethics in a bike gang.
Yeah, no, well, definitely. We were the gang of four, that we did look after each other. And it's the same feeling as we've always had in our little Tunbridge Wells gang. You do look after each other. It's just unfortunately, from being so fucking high to so low with such a short space of time, So we knew we had to shape up or ship out,
So the shaping up, was that changing direction and going and doing this album that wound up being the end of the line?
It morphed into that. I think if Kurd had released the branded album, the second album, and he put the money from the first album, which he sold millions to, and we did the branded album, which was a full-on punk album with heavy songs about, Russia coming to kill us. It was a Sign of the Times album, but it was really happening and really quite. And I've heard some of the songs recently. Our record company in America sent us original recordings. I've forgotten how good those songs were. And if we had released them on the back of We Are the League, then the Crime album, then we would have put out probably Live in Yugoslavia, but the Crime album would never have occurred. We would have then gone in following the same mode of We Are the League branded, and the Crime album would have been punk, aggressive album. But as it was, it sort of pitted along the way. Up pops Doug with 20 grand. It changed the whole feel of everything. We were bored. If, like Lemmy said, and he said, dead true, it's a dead true story. Because I was mates with Lemmy in the early days. His boat was next to Kurd's. So to get to Kurd's boat was on the Thames. We had to climb over Lemmy's boat. Of course, he'd always be there, girls hanging around and all that. And he'd always say, got any gear, because he knew our bikers. And every time we used to come to London, I was popping my bike mates in London first. We'd be armed with fucking shitloads of speed and whatever. So we used to go down to it in Lemmy's boat and then I'd go out on the town together. Fired right up, and then we'd be out. Because he knew a lot of bike guys, I knew as well. And life was pretty good. But of course, he carried on being Motorhead. Whereas we changed into the League. And when we had recorded the Crime album, we then did a promo. Doug did put up a promo show for us. I think it was called something like Meltdown or something. It was a show where we was going to play a few songs there, and Motorhead on the show as well. And of course, I met Lemmy in the corridor after we did our filming. He said, "What the fuck's happened to the Anti-Nowhere League?" I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "Your fucking album's shit." Fucking say my album shit. I said, "Your fucking album's shit." Dumb answer. It was a dumb answer. I don't think anything to say, but he just hit the nail right on the head. The album was fucking shit, and that's it. We shouldn't have been there. And he just said, "What's happened to the Anti-Nowhere League?" And we wasn't sure what happened to it, but that was the first calling that we had fucked up badly. We still at that time went on television, played it, thinking that we were the next Duran Duran. Strange things drugs and money does to you. So that's when we knew it was the end. We'd come out of the dangerous drug period and trying to become musicians because Doug popped up 20 grand and everything was going to be wonderful. So we'd gone past the point of self-destruction, but we'd come out of it as this fucking Nancy band of weird expectations. It was just so not Anti-Nowhere League. And when you look back at it there, you think, where the fuck? I wish I'd listened to Lemmy. Come back and haunt me now, Lemmy. It was a self-destruct mode, but instead of killing yourself, we just killed the band. Simple, Which, looking back, I said to you, you have to make one mistake to make sure you don't make it again. If you make the same mistake twice, you shouldn't be doing it. That's simple.
So that brings us really neatly to post Metallica and the resurrection and what was in your mind. You know, was this stuff in your mind when you thought about getting the band back together again and starting to make music again?
I don't think music side come into it. I think just the buzz of being on stage. It just suddenly thought, this is where I belong to be. You know, this is what I've missed again. You know, I like throwing myself about, shouting, sweating. To me, I go on stage, no different than I'm going into a bare knuckle fight. It's no difference. It's me versus them, and there's the last man standing. And people know you put so much effort into it. You know, and they always come back and say, fuck me, you was on there for an hour and a half or something, you know. How old are you? I mean, I love that feel that it's the same thing. If you're in a fight, you're going to go down or you're going to stand up. It's the same attitude. And I think when being on stage with them suddenly made me realise what I've missed out on. And then getting back on stage. But when we started off again in the early 90s, it was difficult. It wasn't much of a scene. Nobody's really interested in old, blown out old punk bands, you know. There wasn't much happening. And I think it was a struggle. But because I liked performing punk music, and as simple as that, I pushed on with it. I pushed on. You know, there's no money in punk, but I pushed on for the simple fact that I just liked being in a punk band, and I genuinely know I'm lucky enough to be able to do it. You know, I have a unique stage presence, and I think that's something I feed off of, and it feeds off me, and you know, and we're happily married.
So you come off stage. You've been on stage with Metallica. You're like, right, that's
Yep.
where I belong.
Yep.
I belong on stage.
Yep.
Did you pick up the phone to? Did you and John you and JB then pick up the phone to Magoo
Yep.
and PJ? Could you tell
Yep.
me about that process?
Yeah, well, it wasn't PJ because obviously he was well out of the picture. But obviously Winston, Magoo, JB, which is Gilly. You know, no, we didn't bring back Gilly after that because Gilly came in on the last part of the first belt, but we came back in as a 4-piece, and then for some reason, because Gilly obviously he's an artist and he had his work and that, we then brought us another guitarist back in as to bring it back to a 5-piece. So we started then trying to do it as a 5-piece with a lead guitar, which didn't really work.
I'm interested in the nitty gritty bit. So you and JB.
Yep.
You've had that Metallica experience.
Yep.
He's been watching you, presumably. He must have gone with you,
Yep.
because he drove
Yep.
you there.
Yep.
So what happens when you pick up the phone to Magoo and say, what do you reckon, let's do it again?
I think he said, fuck off.
Do you want to...
But he did, he genuinely, see, Magoo wasn't, you know, he loved playing the guitar and that, but he didn't have the bug like I did, because he kept saying, well, how long are we going to do this for? How long are we going to pack it up for? You know, we'll pack it up soon. But I said, no, I like doing it. You know, I can't see why I should suddenly not do it. So there was no point for me not doing it then. Whereas as Magoo, he had a full-time job, and he said, well, I'll do it at weekends, I'll do it this and that, you know. And then we had to work around trying to do shows around his allowance of days off and stuff like that. He said, I'll never quit my job over this, because there's no money in it, you know. So we just literally did it on high days and holidays, and it was just as a hobby. But I just got a buzz right out of it, and we had to redo the band, and we started moving into what sort of music was doing. Sometimes it got a bit heavy, sometimes went back, and then Magoo started writing with me again, which we did the Scum album, which was typically back to him and I again, smiling, tapping our feet. We were on the right mode then, so that was enjoyable, writing new type punk songs. But I think deep down, JB then said, oh, I can't do it, it's his job. Very difficult to try and take somebody's whole life, because you change all the time. Everybody changes. And I think the band members had their own changes. They had their own jobs, they had their own families. You try and get 4 or 5 men in one room together. Oh, I can't come tomorrow night. Mrs. is out. I've got to look after the kids. There's a million reasons why you can't get 5 blokes in the same room. So it was a struggle. So we only played, bit by bit. We picked it up bit by bit by bit by bit. And I think after probably about, 7 years or so, Winston had enough. Oh, I can't be bothered with this anymore. JB, I can't do it in my work. Magoo, I'm finding this more difficult. I can't talk, I can't do anything, Whereas I just stood there saying, I want to carry on. So obviously I decided then that the Anti-Nowhere League would be a long mission. Band members would come and go as they want to come and go. Winston could come and go when he wanted, but we'd get standing when he didn't. Magoo would come and get... Barnsley stepped in for Magoo many times in the past, and this is what we found, that we were a multi-member band, just to use it when you can and when you wanted to. But for me personally, it was always ongoing. I got the real buzz out of it, whereas they just thought it was just something they could fit in when they wanted to, And I think Magoo right up till he wanted to leave said, well, we're going to quit soon, aren't we? You're quitting it soon. I said, no, I don't want to. So we parted ways and I carried on. He went back to his job full time.